This week in VCT, a total of 3 teams will be now making their Tier 1 debut. A very interesting rumor from the side of Team Vitality, and another fan favorite player retires. So let's now talk about the rumor mill that's been happening throughout this week. First up with Carmichael, Avis, and Sadak? Huh, interesting. Now, Avis, he is a Egyptian player, I believe. Played for Nazaré Sports in the MENA region. I think he was at some point he was like considered as a player for Fnatic, I believe. So if that's the case, and he is, I'm very excited to see how he goes on Carmichael. But for Sadak, what? Now, I think in a couple episodes ago, I talked about that Sardag would be going to Crew Esports. Apparently, that might not be happening. I think the rumor is potentially maybe Nozwear, but I don't know, to be honest. But Sardag, I'm very surprised about, generally. I mean, I think he fits very well into that team. I mean, they need an IGL as we will be talking about Magnum pretty soon. So, but yeah, I mean, they need an IGL. Sardak is a great IGL, so I think this is a great change for Carmine Court, and I think they could be very, very competitive coming to next season. Next up is Gentlemaid Robbie BK, not AK, I'm pretty sure I said last time. But yeah, Robbie BK used to play for Job Life in the French region, and we also know that Gentlemaids are looking to go, I guess, internationally. So it won't be just French players there; it'll be other nationalities as well in that team. And one of them is looking to be Robbie BK. He'll be, I guess, maybe the first Dutch player, as I think Hero is identified as a Turkish player. So if that's the case, and Robbie BK, he's in it. So there we go then. But I'm pretty excited for this. He's a great player. He's a great IGL as well. So I am very happy with this change for Gentlemates. I'm not too sure what I think I think we talked about another change. I think with Gokta, I believe, as the coach, which is pretty interesting. But this change with Gentlemates, adding Robbie BK is a great change. I really, really like this. I'm very excited to see how he goes on this team if he actually joins. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to see how this goes. Next up is Team Vitality, and that very interesting rumor is Faded, the current coach for TSM. What? This is more confusing than Sada going to Carmine Core. I mean, it was such an out of the blue rumor that it actually like is most likely gonna happen just because of the sources that we have and stuff. But I'll be very surprised if this actually happens. If it does happen, I think it's a massive W for Vitality. It's very interesting considering that I thought they were going to get like another coach from the EMEA region. That's what I thought. Apparently not all. They're going to keep with the current coach that was strong in T-Mock, I believe. So, but apparently no. Faded. He's going to be joining the team, which is quite interesting. I I don't know how to feel about this rumor. I'll be honest. It's a very confusing one, just because that it just came out of the blue, just like the Carmichael and Sardak. I'll be honest. But this one is more confusing, in my opinion, just because we kind of all expect Vitality to either keep their coaching staff or get another coach from the EMEA region. Here they're getting a coaching staff from North America, so it's a bit confusing, but I'm happy for the change. I think it will definitely help Vitality as a whole as a team, depending on who they're picking up. But I quite like the change. It'll be interesting to see how that goes if it does actually happen. And the final rumor is DRX Hyunmin. Um, he's basically just a prodigy. That's all I'm seeing right now. I think he has competed in the Japanese scene for quite a while, and he's basically just a prodigy. That's basically what it is. Imagine Hyuni, old I should say pretty old VCT fans will know who I'm talking about Hyuni. Or even maybe Foxy9 even as well most recently. Think of that. But the problem I have is where is Hyunmin going to fit into this system? Because they already have like a very star-set roster. I mean, they have obviously Buzz and Mako full veteran shit. They have Foxy9, Flashpack, and Bane. Where is Hyunmin going to go? Like, where does he fit with this? Because he's kind of just there. Like, there's no way that he's just gonna be the sub for the team. Like, there's no way. It's just gonna be shades of Hyuni all over again. I especially as well don't want him. I especially as well don't want them to use him incorrectly as well. I don't know what role he is. I'll be honest. Like I don't know anything about this player, but what I've seen on social media, on Twitter and stuff, it does look like that Hyunmin is basically just a Korean prodigy, which is great. But at the same time, where where does he fit into the system of DRX? So they already have some some amazing players in the roster. Where does he fit into this mold? Now for the news throughout the week and that retirement I talked about at the very beginning of this video is Sacy. Sacy has retired from professional play. Another Sentinel announces their retirement. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Sacy, he's had a very successful career. Yeah, he won one Masters event this year in Madrid. He won champs with Loud. He is the only player to win both Masters and Champions events. So I think he will definitely be a legend in Valorant, especially considering that he is the first player to win both Masters and Champions events. But it is going to be weird to not see Sacy, I'll be honest, in any team, just because of just how it mainly just because of just how well known and well recognized he is. But to be fair, Sacy has played esports for quite a while. I think he's played League of Legends, I believe, before switching to Valorant. So if that's the case, he's been playing for quite a while now, considering how long League has been around. So I can understand why he wants to announce why he announces his retirement. But yeah, it is going to be weird to not see the beautiful bald man of Sacy not in any not in any team. So it's gonna feel weird, but I do wish him the very best in his retirement. Next up is Milan. He has left Giant X for Fnatic. He will be replacing Mini as the assistant coach for that team. I'm all for it. I mean, Milan, I think he was part of that Ascend team where they won champs, so he does know how to win champs, obviously. But other than that, he's been just kind of just in mid-level teams, I'll be honest. But now that he actually has a great opportunity now with Fnatic, I think he's going to go really, really well with Elmo Putty. So I think this is a great change for Fnatic, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, it's a great change, I'll be honest. I mean, like it would be, I mean, it was already difficult to replace Mini after he announced that he'll be leaving the team to, I'm guess, focusing more on streaming. But I mean, I think they chose the right coach. Milan, he's great. Yes, he coached Giant X for a bit, which didn't really work out well, but he has been with championship winning orgs, so I think he will be a great fit for this team. Moving on to Magnum, as he is now a restricted free agent for Carmine Core. I am a bit surprised considering that Magnum, I think, is a very, very good player. I mean, he was also a great IGL as well for the team. I mean, hell, they made it to Masters Madrid and shocked everyone after winning kickoff as well. But I guess throughout the season, it kind of struggled and kind of dipped in performance. So that might maybe play a contribution for that. But I mean, I still think Magnum is still a great player in my opinion. He's definitely proven himself to belong in tier one. I'm just not too sure which team could maybe pick him up. Maybe like Vitality or Koi. Maybe like mainly a team that is like midfield, somewhere around there, in my opinion. I think should definitely pick that Magnum or should definitely look at Magnum. But I'm not too sure where he could go. I haven't seen his name really anywhere, which is pretty disappointing. But we'll see how. Yeah, we'll see where Magnum could go, I'll be honest. Next up is ROZ, as he's also a restricted free agent. He is the coach for Koi. Much needed, I'll be honest. I was literally nothing against ROZ. It is just because that Koi needs to blow it up again. I mean, they have had two dreadful seasons in a row, and it's just not looking good for this team. So, but I mean, I don't know where ROZ could go. I think most likely he could maybe go back to the Spanish tier 2 region, maybe with a Barca or Case or UCAM Sports Club or maybe Five Media Clan, as I'm trying to think about the Spanish orgs. But I'm not too sure where he could really go in tier 1 if he wants to stay in Spain. Best option, Giant X, in my opinion. I think they have Pipson, I think as the head coach, so Arizzi can definitely fit in there very, very well as the assistant coach, but other than that, I'm not too sure where else he could really go, I'll be honest. And the final news is that Soulcast has left Team Liquid. Not surprised as we'll be getting to EMEA pretty soon. Yeah, it's maybe the most least surprising move, I'll be honest. Out of all the news that I've talked about, but basically, spoiler alert, Apex is now in EMEA, so no surprises there. Let's now move in now to Americas. First up with M80, they played 5 games throughout this week, 3 times against 2 game, Galleries and All Nights. They won 3 and lost 2. Xander and Kuala were my MVPs. And as you can see, they placed second for the second year in a row. They were runner-ups to 2 Game Esports. I know it's a bit of a spoiler alert, but still. My god, this team, I genuinely thought this team wasn't going to smoke the competition, but I thought they were going to be very, very good and win America's Ascension. Yeah, that did not happen. They struggled in the playoffs, I think mainly against 2 Game. That was their main rival. And to be fair, 2 Game, they placed what, 4th in the regular season standings, so with them to come out on top is very, very impressive from that team. But more on M80, it is very disappointing. I guess you can say they choked in the grand final, excuse me. So you could just say that they definitely choked, and I would not be surprised because they did. They practically did choke. So it's disappointing for M80 to be runner-ups again for the second year in a row. I expect maybe some of these players might be leaving. I saw one Twitch. I know. A very, very credible source on Twitch chat that someone said Xander to Sentinels, which I think is fucking stupid. Like, I need proof, and not just from some analyst chairperson. So, but either way, I hope M80 finally does make it to Tier 1 at some point. But I would not be surprised as well if that org also leaves. I mean, how Ascend, our 2021 champions, has left the scene entirely. Yeah, I won't be surprised if M80 also leaves as well. Next up is TSM, and they placed dead last in 6th place after their loss against All Night. Sim was my MVP. And yeah, TSM were just bad. They were just bad, bad, bad. I don't know what else to say other than they were just bad. I can't give out any good stuff about the team other than just being. I mean, I guess I can say that Sim was the only shining light of this team. He was very, very consistent, very, very good. But that's all I can really say about this team. I mean, I expect them to be mid-pack at best. But no, they were the worst team. They won only once. They didn't win 2 times where majority of the teams did. They won only once, which is pretty disappointing for a team like TSM. So hopefully they do bounce back, but I'm not too sure, I'll be honest. Next up is Rat Esports. They placed 5th in the standings. They did not make it into the top 4 like I expected them to be because they lost to the Galleries. Well, Galleries? I actually don't know how you actually say the name. Nags was my MVP. Yeah, it was just not good. I mean, I expected so much from them just because of the veteranship that they have. Nags, Delzik, those are 2 big ones. And like some promising players like Snow, for example. Yeah, I did not see any of that. I mean, Snow had some great moments. But that's really all. Delzik also had some good moments as well for this team. But that's what I can really say. I mean, it's just pretty disappointing as a whole for Retta. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully they do bounce back, and hopefully they are back in Ascension next year, if they even stay. But, I mean, maybe they might have to make some changes, I'll be honest with this roster. Next up is All Nighters. They were very, very impressive in my books. They played 4 games against TSM, Galleries, 2 game in M80. They won 2 and lost 2. Nico Machine and Dante were my MVPs, placing 3rd. Very, very impressive from this team, which I expected to be the worst team, I'll be honest, in America's Ascension. They definitely surprised me. Especially Dante. He's rumored to maybe join Tier 1, potentially. If that's the case, he was not 18, he's 17 right now, so he's going to be inactive for a bit, basically how Woot was inactive for Team Heretics for the first half of the season, and that's probably what's going to happen as well with Dante, but we'll see what really happens there. But for all as a whole with the team, Very, very impressive. They had some brilliant ideas, I'll be honest, in these games, and it was very entertaining to watch. So I hope that All Knights, with the players that they have left, can come back because I would not be complaining. I think this team is really, really fun to watch. Has some great ideas with some interesting comps as well, and worked out very, very well for them for a bit until they versed M80, but still very, very impressive, I'll be honest, from this team. Next up is Galerace as they played 3 games against Reta, All Knights, and M80. They won against Reta, but lost against both All Knights and M80. Sato and Evil Kike were my MVPs, placing 4th. I don't know who could really move up to tier 1, if I'm really saying. Sato, potentially, considering that Sato was rumored to maybe joining Fury at some point, some point this year, I believe. If Sato does actually join Furia, then I would not be surprised, considering that's been rumored for quite a while now. But, I mean, I think he definitely deserves to be in tier 1. I'm just not too sure if he's 18 or not, which is the only problem I have, really. But I expected this team to be. I guess I could say I expected to where they were. I mean, I expected them to be in the playoffs at least. Maybe not the best, but just in the playoffs. And I think they definitely were right in my expectations, which is a good sign there for Galleries. So, but however, though, they were not the best team to actually in this whole playoff thing. I'll be honest, they were not the best. There was another team that was better than them and even moved up as well to tier 1. And that team is 2Game Esports. They played 4 games against M80 3 times and All Knights. They won 3 and lost 1, I think, to All Knights, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was M80. Silence and Spike were my MVPs. Placing first, they have ascended to tier 1 for 2025. I could we say this was an upset? I'm not too sure, I'll be honest. Just because that this team was practically the second seed of this tournament for Brazil. So I just don't know, I'll be honest, because I think they were very close to not making it into Ascension. And they were mainly very consistent. They were always third place, I believe I said in my Teams and Players video. So I expected them to be in the playoffs as well, but not in the grand final. I thought it was going to be like, I don't know, like M80 definitely, or maybe, I don't know who else you can really say. Maybe Galleries or All Knights, or maybe not All Knights. Rata, I believe. I think I was thinking about. But yeah, 2Game have impressed me a lot. They have some great players, Spike and Silence especially. Zap as well has had some great moments as well for this team, but I'm not too sure. I'll be very surprised if they make a change to their roster, just because, I mean, why would you? I mean, if it does, I mean, if it works, it works. Don't break it. And it has worked for this team very, very well. And to have as well another Brazilian team in tier 1 is great. I mean, now we have 4 teams in Brazil with Loud, Furia, MIBR, and now 2Game Esports. I do think 2Game are better than MIBR, which is at least a good sign. I'm not too sure though if they are better than Furia and Loud. But I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens with 2Game if they do make any roster changes. But 2Game Esports will be now in Tier 1 in Americas for 2025. Next up is China. First up with XLG, as they played 4 games against ZY Gaming, CCG twice in Bro Adam. They won 3 and lost 1 against Chosen Click Gaming, I believe. Or maybe it was ZY, I can't remember. Crystal and Raga were my MVPs. Yes, they have ascended up into China. I'm not surprised. I mean, they were the favorites coming into this tournament. They were in the first seed. It's not surprising. I mean, unlike last year where Dragon Ranger Gaming came out of the water and destroyed Roradim in the grand final, like it's basically just a repeat of what happened from last year, other than XLG destroyed Roradim, which is not surprising whatsoever. But XLG, they made it. They're now in Tier 1 China, but the problem I have is that who are they going to be replacing? Because Crystal and Raga, both of them are Russians, and you can only have one import player in China. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be Crystal or is it going to be Raga? This is very similar to the situation that if Adam from last year made it, basically made it to Tier 1 last year. it's basically just the repeat, other than this is actually happening. Who do you replace, Crystal or Raga? I don't know, to be honest, because obviously, as you can see, both of those players were my MVPs. So I don't know who you would choose if you are XLG. If you either replace your IGL or your duelist. That is the problem I have with this team. I mean, everyone else is fine. Happy Way, Mr. Carney, and Martin, they're fine, but as for Chris and Raga, someone is getting cut. A very disappointing result for Keep Best Gaming as they played against Ambitious Legend Gaming and lost. And it was Sujin gained MVP, placing 5th through 6th. I expected this team to be in the playoffs. They weren't. They were horrendous. They were horrible. They were not good. It was just not a good showing from this team, and which is disappointing because I thought this team was going to be top 4 at least, maybe competing against Chosen Click Gaming, Rare Addict, and XLG. No, ALG took that spot in the playoffs, which is, I mean, it's great for that young team, but for Keep Best Gaming, which is an organization not making it to playoffs at least, is very, very disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would really want to pick those players up. But I mean, I could easily be wrong. But it's not a good showing there for the team whatsoever in this tournament. But yeah, we'll see if they do come back, but I highly doubt they will. Chosen Click Gaming, they placed 3rd in this tournament. They played 3 games against XLG twice and ALG. They won against ALG, but lost against XLG twice. Maple and Green were my MVPs. And CCG, they were pretty impressive. I mean, but at the same time, they kind of were there where I expected them to be in the playoffs. Maybe not in the grand final, but 3rd place. I mean, it's kind of where I expected them to be. Maple had some great moments. Green as well had some brilliant moments as well. K1 TW was pretty good as well for the team. Basically everyone. I mean, Jai Jean as well, the controller player for this team, was very, very impressive. Got an ace as well, I'm pretty sure, against XLG, I believe. So he was very, very impressive and definitely made that final game against XLG very competitive. But at the same time, they didn't make it to the grand final, so that's the problem. But still, very, very impressive there from my Chosen Click Gaming. I would not be surprised if some Tier 1 teams are looking at some of these players on this team. Next up is EY Gaming as a loss against XLG to fail to qualify to the playoffs. Slowly was my MVP, placing 5th through 6th. Yeah, I mean, I thought this team was going to be pretty good. I mean, if one of the big 4 teams were not going to make it into the playoffs, my bet was in ZY Gaming. They have some great players. They have like slowly, like I mentioned, FFS. Who else? I'm trying. Mizey, no, Smizey's actually slowly. YOU. I don't know how the fuck I forgot about YOU. Baby Blue as well. They actually have some great players and players that have competed in Tier 1, but it just wasn't enough. But I would not be surprised if some of these players are also picked up right back up into Tier 1, just because I mean they deserve it. They are amazing players, but I'm not too sure, I'll be honest, because I mean they had a pretty disappointing result against XLG. But to be fair as well, XLG, they were the winners of this tournament, so it is kind of expected for them to not do well against the top team in China. But still, an alright performance from ZY Gaming, but I'm not too sure of any. Maybe some of these players might maybe get picked up, but not too sure. Rare Adam. Oh god, it's just getting sad at this point for this team. It's just like M80. It's just getting worse. They played 3 games against AOG and XLG. They won twice and lost once in a very crucial match in the grand final against XLG, placing 2nd. Udo 10 and Freein were my MVPs. I will be very surprised if Freein is not in Tier 1 by now. I mean, he is a phenomenal player and was such a great player asset for this team as well to be picked up. Nerman also has some good performance as well, but obviously it was just the 2 Koreans mainly of Udo 10 and Freein. But seriously, when is this all ever going to get good luck? I mean, this is the 2nd year in a row where they came runner-up, just like EMEA over in Americas, and it flopped. They basically got destroyed by XLG, which, yes, is not surprising just because XLG were doubted to be the winners of Ascension, but at the same time, at least have some fight in you. But yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be another year for Rare Adam to try and make it up into Ascension. Oh, good grief, this team is just so depressing. And the final Chinese team is Ambitious Legend Gaming, or ALG. They played 3 games against Keep Best Gaming, Rare Adam, and CCG. They won against Keep Best Gaming, but lost against Rare Adam and CCG, which is not surprising whatsoever. Chaos, Little Mad, and Volley were my MVPs. And this team, very, very impressive. They made it to the playoffs, which is already very impressive, which I'll be honest, not a lot of these teams can actually say. But still, extremely impressive from this entire team to even make it into the playoffs and winning against Key Best Gaming, which, I mean, everyone kind of thought they were going to make it to the playoffs. Like, we all thought it was going to be Rare Atom, XLG, Chosen Click Gaming, and Keep Best Gaming. But apparently, no, ALG decided it to spoil the party, which is great, though, obviously having a underdog in the playoffs, but yeah, I guess you can say it was a bit of a waste of a playoff spot, I'll be honest, for this team. But still, I mean, it's very impressive there. Very, very, very impressive from this team to make it into the playoffs either way. So I still think this is a W in my books. Moving now swiftly to EMEA first, started off with Apex, as they were the winners in the grand final against Pacific Esports. Kayak was my MVP. They will be now making their debut in Tier 1 or I should say Tier 1 EMEA. Makes sense. I mean, this team was doubted to be the best team in the EMEA last year and this year. They failed it last year with Gentlemates, but now they're here for this year, which is a great sign to be honest. Because I mean, this team deserves it. I mean, they have always been competitive in the EMEA region, always. Well, maybe because they always get star-studded players and players that can't find a home in Tier 1, and they'll just build them back up, and they'll be right back at home in Tier 1. So, I'm not too sure what the situation is going to be with Apex, because this team is also in the affiliate partnership with Team Liquid, so I'm not too sure how that's gonna work. That is the issue that I have with this team, is that they are the affiliate partnership with Team Liquid. So what's gonna happen with that? Is that gonna be revoked? Are they gonna stay with that? I have no idea. I don't know. But I'll be interested to see what potential changes, I should say, that Apex makes. I think Kayak was rumored to be going to quite a lot of different teams. I think a lot of teams were interested in him, but now that Apex is now in EMEA, I don't think that's really going to happen because I think they're going to keep their cards pretty tight to themselves, or they're just not going to make any changes, which is not surprising because, I mean, hell, if it's working, don't break it. So, but either way, amazing performance there from Apex. Very close game. I'm pretty sure was win the grand final. I'm very excited to see how they go in EMEA. And the final team is Pacific Esports, a Turkish team that really surprised me. Genuinely surprised me. Yes, they lost in the grand final. Comeback was my MVP, but it was still such an impressive showing from this entire team. Yes, it was mainly comeback, just because comeback he is a phenomenal young Turkish player that every team should be looking at. And I think I think teams are taking notice. I'll be honest of his performance, or even just as a whole. Like this entire team's performance as a whole has been very very impressive. So it's great that Pacific Esports somehow made it not only to the playoffs but also to the grand final, and to be as well the only team I believe out of all these teams in the NBA to not play in Split 1 and to come from the Open Qualifiers of Split 2 is still very very impressive. So even though Pacific Esports came second, I still think they should be very very proud of themselves just because of what they have shown, what they have accomplished is something that no other team I think can rival whatsoever. And for the first time, let's talk about Ascension Pacific. First, started with Revidence Esports. They played Sinpreza Gaming, and they lost. Sultan was my MVP. Yeah, there were quite a lot of people impressed with Sultan, and including myself. I was very, very impressed with Sultan. I thought it was going to be like DOS9, for example, who I'm pretty sure is the duelist player for this team to do well. No, it was Sultan, who I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he has ever been on the starting roster for this team. I don't think he was on the starting roster during Split 1, Split 2. So this is basically his first time playing with the team, which is impressive either way. But at the same time, they struggle against Impreza Gaming, which is not surprising just because Impreza Gaming are basically the favorites of winning this entire thing. They have been so good in Korea. I mean, hell, just like Pacific Esports in EMEA, they came from the split 2 open qualifiers and won that. So it shows that this, I mean, Simpreza Gaming is a team to be to be feared for. But for Revenant, it's gonna be difficult. I'll be honest. I think they're playing later today. I think against Nows, I believe, but maybe I'm wrong. But it's going to be a bit of a hill to climb for Revenant Esports, I believe. Next up is Full Sense as they played 2 games against Oblivion Force and Disguise. They won both of them. John Olsen, not surprising, is your MVP. When is John Olsen ever going to leave Full Sense? I mean, seriously, like, he is a phenomenal player. He deserves to be in Tier 1 by now, but he's not in Tier 1, which I don't know how the hell he's only in Tier 1, because he deserves to be. He has been so good for the team for the last 3 years or something. He has been in that team for quite a while now. But I mean that might maybe be the secret of Full Sense of just having John Olsen as your duelist, and he's just been phenomenal. Yes, is what they have like foreign players like Foxy. I think there's another one as well. Sushi Boys as well. 2 former players in Tier 1 has been helping out as well this team, which has been very, very impressive. I would not be surprised well if Full Sense does make it to the grand final, just because of just how these amazing players. I mean, how they have Lammy Snacks, who is the sub for the team, and he's also very, very good. There is nothing stopping this team. I'm serious saying that. Like, this is maybe the best Thai team that we have. Yeah, Zergia was great. Oh, well, I should say it was alright last year, but that wasn't the best Thai team, I'll be honest, that they can offer. The best was either Full Sense or Made in Thailand, and Zergia just came out of the blue in the best timing so far and made it to Ascension. But now that Full Sense is now here, they're now here to play, and they have been very, very impressive so far in this tournament. A bit of a struggling start for Rapid Lo-Fi as they did lose it against JFT. TripQ was my MVP. I am not surprised in the slightest, because Rapid Lo-Fi, they... again, look, this is the thing. Rapid Lo-Fi was a team that no one had on their books. Like, everyone had Fantasy United Esports circled around to make it into Ascension Pacific. Obviously, that did not happen. It was a massive upset for Rapid Lo-Fi. So far, I mean, they only played 1 game, but so far, what I've seen is not been impressive. It's just been quite bad, I'll be honest. So, could Rapid Lo-Fi be the best that Vietnam can actually show? I don't think so. I think, in my opinion, I think Fantasy 90 Esports is much, much better than Rapid Lo-Fi. But, obviously, stuff happened, meta happened, and Rapid Lo-Fi won in the grand final either way, and now they're here. So, either way, it's been an alright performance from Rapid Lo-Fi, but I would not be surprised if they get eliminated by today. Disguise. This was not a good start for this team as they did lose against Full Sense. Juicy was my MVP. And I mean, I could tell there was nerves in this team as well immediately, just from how they're playing. Like, it wasn't the Disguise that was competitive in the Malaysia Singapore region, or even one split 2 as well. It was not. This was like split 1 Disguise where they were a bit shaky, but I guess a bit competitive. This one, they weren't really that competitive, in my opinion. They kind of struggled, which is the problem I have with the team, where they have great players. They have very, very good players. But at the same time, they just struggled against a team that, in my opinion, are top 4 material. Full Sense. This guys are looking like a midfield team, in my opinion, but hopefully they can turn around and not be eliminated by today. It would not be a good look if the winning region from last year is eliminated straight away. Then Praza Gaming is next, and I'm just saying this right now. They are winning Ascension. I'm just saying it right now. I don't give a fuck. They played 2 games against Revenant Esports and Riddle, and they won both of them. Danby was my MVP, and Danby, he has been very, very impressive. I know this was a player to be looked at, I'll be honest. Obviously, the main one was Persia, but the other one was Danby, that everyone was saying you should have a look at this player. And, I mean, he lived up to the hype. He's been very, very good for this team as a whole. Like Ivy, Margaret, they've been alright for this team, in my opinion. But I think the main two is just Dandy and Persia. I mean, those two players have been very, very good for this team. I would not be surprised if Simpress Gaming even wins Ascension Pacific, which that's basically what I'm betting on. I'm betting on Simpress Gaming winning in Pacific. But I will be very surprised if they don't make it. If that's the case, and I think some of these players definitely deserve to be in Tier 1. There are some great talent in this team. I think teams like T1 especially should be looking at them. Um, Maybe I guess you can maybe say Genji, considering that some of those players will be in the military service. DFM if they want to continue to have that mixed roster of Korean Japanese teams, but I'll be honest, this some of these players deserve to be in Tier 1, like Danby and Purge, and some of the players were like Ivy and Margaret as well. Next up is Riddle, the Japanese org. They did lose against Impress Gaming. Soldan was my MVP. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to beat this team, I'll be honest. I like Riddle had some decent performance, I'll say. Like K-Day, well, K-Day, I don't know how to say his name, but he was pretty good for this team. But that, I mean, it's just Soldem, just doing Soldem things. I don't know what is with Soldem and somehow getting up with these teams that are just so good, but he still performs extremely well, like DFM, like in DFM especially when he was with that team. But it's still like an alright showing from this team, I'll be honest. Um, I expect them to maybe be mid-pack or even maybe third or fourth, maybe somewhere in that region, just from how they've been performing. But we'll see what happens in this tournament. A team which I expect to be eliminated by now is Oblivion Force, not because of they're bad, but just because there's better teams around them. They did lose against Full Sense. Shaq was my MVP. This player, I think there was also another player as well, which I did not mention in my teams and players video, just because they were added like the day of the tournament, I believe. So I was like, ah, crap, I can't redo it. But Shaq, he's a new player for this team, so there you go then. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm no disrespect to the Hong Kong, Taiwan region, but they are a very struggling region in Pacific, I'll be honest. Like, they're not the best, I'll say. They kind of struggling, but I think they are slowly improving. It's just that some of these teams, like Full Sense, for example, Nows, Boom, you can maybe even say like obviously like Simpress Gaming, Riddle. Some of these teams are like have star-studded players and are very very good and has been in the region for quite well, not in the region, but they have been around like other regions for quite a while now. Oblivion Forces is the first time I'm pretty sure around some of these teams, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt just because I don't really expect them to be to go far in this tournament, but I still think they should be. I mean, they should be alright, but I don't expect them to be. I mean, I should say to go that far into this tournament. Now it's esports. What a struggling performance they had against Boom Esports. Ja was my MVP, but it doesn't change the fact that they struggled. Like they were just nowhere. I'll be honest. Against Boom Esports. Boom Esports looks like a completely different team. As for Nows, they did not look like the third through fourth team that came last year. This team looks like a 5th through 6th team as of right now. Like that's how much they fell off in my opinion. It's just not. It was just not a good performance as a whole for this team. It was just not. It was just really shaky from this entire team. Yeah, like they still have like some great players. Ja, Papachulo, especially Iman, formerly from ROQ. All those players struggled, and it really worries me of how this team is gonna go throughout this tournament. I hope that they don't get eliminated by today because that will be a massive disappointment for this team. Next up is Boom Esports. They did win against Now Esports. NC Slasher was my MVP. And I'm just saying it right now, I think this team will once again be in the top 3, or even top 4, I should say. This team, I think, still has the performance like they had last year, and I still think they could be very very competitive throughout the tournament. So no surprises there, I'll be honest. But I mean, they have some very good competition. Senpress Gaming, Full Sense, but you can maybe as well maybe say Riddle. But I think the main two teams that everyone's going to be looking at is Full Sends and Synpreza Gaming. Boom Esports will definitely be there as well. But I'm just not too sure who that top four is because I would maybe put my money on like on Now Esports, I believe. But just because of how they performed, it was not good. So I think Now's might maybe be a 5th through 6th team, I'll be honest. While Boom Esports still in that top 4 spot to potentially make it to the grand final. And the final team is the Oceania team of JFT, or Justice for Tomorrow, whatever it's called. They did win against Rapid Lo-Fi. Mirza was my MVP. I'm not surprised as well. I think JFT are a very, very good team. But as well, I'm not too sure how the Oceania region is going to go against these top teams from these regions like Indonesia, Korea, especially Thailand. These teams that are so good. I'm just not too sure how JFT are going to go. Like, yes, they are, I guess you can say, the beloved underdog. They did win against Rapid Lo-Fi, but that was not really a bit of a surprise, just considering Rapid Lo-Fi had struggling a bit, and I don't think this may be Vietnam's best team in my opinion. I think Fancy United Esports is still the best, but JFC they have always been up there as well. But I guess you can also say that this might not be Oceania's best team. I mean, everyone thought it was gonna be Jishao Bonka, Bonka I should say, to make it into 2-1 again. No, that did not happen. Everyone thought maybe it might maybe be Internet Arena Cafe or Arena Internet Cafe, whatever the hell it's called. Nope, it wasn't them. It was JFT. So you could also say the same thing as well with JFT. But it's just the fact that JFT has shown that they deserve to be here is kind of the difference, I'll be honest. But we'll see how they go against these top regions, I guess we can say. I don't think they're going to go far, in my opinion. I think they're going to be where Bonkers were last year, 5th through 6th, but we'll see how that goes. And that is really about it from me for today's video. Obviously, yes, it's been it's been some interesting stuff, and obviously now that 3 regions are now done, we will now just be talking about Pacific from now on, as they will be finishing up pretty soon, I believe. So yeah, that's really about it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you guys next time in the next one. Goodbye.